In a world that often emphasizes labels, titles, and predefined roles, there lies a profound opportunity to explore who you are beyond the confines of these categories. When you strip away the external identifiers, your job description, social status, relationships, or societal expectations, you are left with a core essence that is uniquely yours. This essence is what I refer to as you, a complex mosaic of experiences, beliefs, passions, fears, and dreams that collectively define your authentic self. Understanding and embracing this core allows you to navigate life with greater clarity, purpose, and fulfillment, transcending the limitations imposed by societal roles and discovering the infinite potential that resides within. To begin this journey, you must first recognize that roles are inherently transient. They serve as functional frameworks to organize interactions and responsibilities. However, they are not the totality of your being. A role is like a costume you wear for a performance. It can be changed, refined, or discarded without altering the essence of who you are. For example, you might be a parent, an employee, a friend, or a community member, all vital roles that contribute to your identity. Yet, these roles are only parts of a larger picture. They do not define your worth, your consciousness, or your intrinsic values. When you detach from these labels, you create space to explore the fundamental question: who am I beyond what I do or what others see in me? This question is both profound and empowering, inviting you to look inward and discover your true nature. The process of meeting yourself beyond roles begins with awareness. You must cultivate a mindful presence that observes your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without judgment. This practice helps you identify how often your sense of self is intertwined with external identities. For instance, you might notice that when you introduce yourself, you immediately mention your job or your relationship status. While these are natural social conventions, they can also become hooks that trap you within superficial identities. By observing this tendency, you create a pause, a moment of consciousness, where you can choose to connect with a deeper sense of self that exists beyond these labels. An effective way to deepen this awareness is through meditation or contemplative practices. Sitting quietly and observing your breath, sensations, or thoughts allows you to access a space of stillness and clarity. In this space, you start to differentiate between the transient fluctuations of your mind and the unchanging awareness that witnesses these fluctuations. This witnessing consciousness is the foundation of your true self, unchanged by circumstances, unbounded by roles, and rooted in pure awareness. When you identify with this awareness, you realize that your true nature is not limited to your roles, but is expansive, infinite, and inherently free. As you become more familiar with this inner space, you may notice that your sense of identity is often shaped by stories, narratives you tell yourself about who you are, what you have achieved, or what you lack. These stories can be empowering or limiting, but ultimately, they are constructs of the mind. To go beyond these stories, you need to question their validity and recognize that they are just mental fabrications. When you observe a story about yourself, say, "I am not enough," or "I am a failure," you can gently inquire, is this true in the deepest sense? Often, you'll find that these stories are based on temporary conditions or societal conditioning, not on your core reality. By loosening your attachment to these narratives, you open up space to experience yourself as the pure awareness that observes them, not as the stories themselves. This detachment from stories and roles paves the way for self-acceptance and unconditional love. When you realize that your worth is not determined by external accomplishments or societal approval, you begin to embrace yourself fully, with all your imperfections and vulnerabilities. This acceptance is a vital step in meeting yourself beyond roles because it dissolves the need for validation from outside sources. You no longer depend on external identities to define who you are. Instead, you recognize that your true essence is inherently whole, complete, and loved just as it is. Engaging in self-inquiry is another powerful method to uncover your authentic self. Asking questions like, "Who am I?" or "What is my true nature?" without seeking immediate answers encourages deep reflection. These questions are not meant to be answered intellectually, but to open a space for intuitive insight. When you sit with these questions patiently, you may experience moments of silence, clarity, or even a shift in perception that reveals a sense of vastness or unity with all that is. This realization that you are not separate from the universe, but an integral part of it, can radically transform your understanding of identity. It shifts the focus from individual ego-centered existence to a more expansive awareness that encompasses everything. In this expanded awareness, roles become secondary. They are seen as functions or expressions rather than definitions of your core being. For example, you might see your role as a teacher or healer, but understand that these are just expressions of your inner nature, not the totality of who you are. When you recognize this distinction, you can engage in your roles with more authenticity, compassion, and presence, without losing sight of your true self. This integration allows you to serve others more effectively because your actions are rooted in genuine self-awareness rather than ego-driven motives. Moreover, embracing your authentic self involves embracing your shadows, those parts of yourself that you might consider undesirable or uncomfortable. Society often encourages us to hide or suppress these aspects, but true self-awareness involves acknowledging and integrating them. By doing so, you move toward authenticity and wholeness. For instance, accepting feelings of anger, jealousy, or fear as natural human experiences, rather than faults to be ashamed of, enables you to relate more honestly with yourself and others. This honesty fosters deeper connections and a sense of inner peace, as you no longer need to maintain a facade of perfection. As you deepen into this self-awareness, you may also discover your passions, talents, and unique gifts. When you are not confined by roles, these qualities can emerge freely, guiding you toward meaningful pursuits. You start to see that your purpose is not something you have to find externally, but something that naturally arises when you align with your true self. This alignment manifests as a sense of flow, joy, and fulfillment that transcends external achievements. Your purpose becomes an expression of your authentic being, contributing to the world in ways that resonate with your deepest truth. Relationships also transform when you meet yourself beyond roles. Instead of seeking validation or approval from others, you come from a place of fullness and authenticity. This shift leads to more genuine connections, built on mutual understanding and acceptance, rather than superficial roles or expectations. You learn to listen deeply, to accept others as they are, and to relate from a place of compassion and presence. In this way, relationships become a mirror for your own self-discovery, reflecting the inner work you do to meet yourself beyond societal masks. Practicing compassion is integral to this journey. As you come to see yourself more clearly, you develop empathy for your own struggles and imperfections. This compassion naturally extends to others, recognizing that everyone is on their own path of awakening. When you approach life with kindness and understanding, you foster a sense of unity and interconnectedness that dissolves feelings of separateness and isolation. This compassion also helps you forgive yourself and others, releasing grievances and opening your heart to unconditional love. Living beyond roles requires a continuous commitment to awareness and self-exploration. It is not a one-time achievement, but an ongoing practice of returning to your core and shedding layers of conditioning. Cultivating mindfulness, engaging in meditation, journaling, or contemplative dialogue are tools that support this process. Over time, you develop a deeper trust in your inner wisdom and intuition, guiding you toward authentic choices and a life aligned with your true nature. In embracing you, beyond roles, you also cultivate resilience. When your sense of self is rooted in the unchanging awareness rather than external circumstances, you become more adaptable and resilient in facing life's challenges. You understand that setbacks, losses, and pains are part of the human experience, but they do not diminish your core being. Instead, they offer opportunities for growth, compassion, and deeper self-understanding. This resilience is not about suppressing or avoiding difficulties, but about meeting them from a place of inner strength and stability. Ultimately, living beyond roles is about reclaiming your sovereignty, the recognition that you are the author of your inner experience. It involves disentangling yourself from societal narratives, ego identities, and superficial labels to discover the intrinsic, boundless self that underlies all phenomena. This discovery leads to a life that is authentic, spontaneous, and aligned with your deepest truth. You become a beacon of presence and love, inspiring others to explore their own true nature. Through this journey, you realize that who you are is not limited by roles, titles, or external identities, but is an infinite, luminous consciousness that simply is. As you walk this path, remember that it is unique to you. There is no fixed destination or perfect formula for meeting yourself beyond roles. The process unfolds naturally as you remain open, curious, and gentle with yourself. Celebrate every moment of insight, every shift in perception, and every act of self-acceptance. Trust that beneath the layers of conditioning and societal programming lies a radiant being, your true self, waiting to be known, loved, and expressed fully. When you embrace this core, your life becomes a sacred dance of discovery, creativity, and infinite possibility. Rooted in the profound understanding that you are beyond roles, you are the timeless, formless presence that simply is.